name is Natasha. I'm the host of Brookshire Desire Podcast. I'm here to promote, inspire, and empower all entrepreneurs in ways to grow your business and stay prosperous. Now, I'm going to keep it hot. Now, I got this from Pastor Mike Todd, humble, open, and transparent. So the only thing you can keep and give is your word. So let's stand on it. Now, I'm not going to take up much time. I would like to introduce a very prominent entrepreneur I ran across in my journey of entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Mr. Sherman Jenkins. Hey, Mr. Sherman, how are you today?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Well, I want to get straight to it so they can see what we got going on around here.
All right.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
So, can you tell the people who you are and how you got to the place of being an entrepreneur?
Well, I am the president of SOJ Communications, Inc. That is a digital media company, marketing, public relations firm based in Aurora, Illinois. And it is one that where we run a publication that is called Tell Me Something Good. It is a digital monthly newspaper that covers African American life outside the city of Chicago. So whether you live in Joliet, Elgin, Batavia, Paw Paw, that's outside the city of Chicago, and where there's African Americans, that's where we are looking to tell people something good. And so with that company, I also am an author. I have published a book that is called about a two-sport athlete, very important two-sport athlete, and his name was Ted Strong Jr. And this biography is available on Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, anywhere where good books are sold. And this man was an original Harlem Globetrotter. He was a major star in Negro baseball leagues, played with Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that. But and I also serve as an alderman at large here in the city of Aurora. I've been in that position since 2017. Alderman at large is different from a ward alderman. Alderman at large, we cover the entire city, whereas a ward alderman has one specific ward. But we cover the entire city. We try to bring a much global look at things with regards to the city of Aurora. There are two aldermen at large, and I'm one of them. And I also serve as the chairman of the board of the Quad County African American Chamber of Commerce, which was formed in 1993. And next year we'll be celebrating 30 years of existence here to help empower and build African American businesses in the communities in the Quad counties of Kane, Kendall, DuPage, and Will. I know that's a whole mouthful, but I figured I better get all that in.
It's okay, congrats. I want to be like you. You wrote a book. We know you wrote a book called The Untold Story of an Original Harlem Globetrotter, Ted Strong Jr. Let's talk a little bit about what inspired you to write the book, and why did you title it The Untold Story?
Well, I was inspired because I knew his father. His father was Theodore Rawlings Strong Sr. And I knew of his father because I grew up on the south side of Chicago in Woodlawn. And Mr. Strong was an individual who many of us looked up to. He was a community activist. He got involved in many things in the community. And I learned that he played in the old Negro baseball leagues, and that he was a very interesting gentleman. And so fast forward, I'm in college, Northern Illinois University. I was studying journalism, And one summer for a feature writing class, the instructor said, okay, you guys got to write a story on anything and submit it to Chicago newspapers and see if you can get it published. So I was scrambling, what can I write about? What can I write about? And then I remembered my buddy who I was growing up with, one of the Strongs, and he talked about his dad. And I called him up and I said, hey, you think your dad let me interview him? He said, sure, could give him a call. Call him up. Mr. Strong says, sure, come on over. I interview him, write a story. It gets in the Chicago newspapers, the Defender, and he sees the article and he says, wow, you did a great job. You need to meet Ted.
Oh,
Who's Ted? And he says, Ted's from my first marriage. So we were scheduled to meet, I was scheduled to meet Ted Jr. And about a couple of weeks before we were to meet, Ted suffered an asthma attack and passed away at the age of 61. He died March 2nd, 1978. And so I'm, oh my gosh. So I said, I still got to write this book. And I just started doing research. So it was on and off trying to do the book. And finally, I retired from the city of Aurora in 2012. And I said, this is my opportunity to write and do this book. So I began the research, and as I'm looking at old newspapers and through microfilm, and I see stories, Ted Strong hits long home run. Ted Strong plays an East-West All-Star game. Ted Strong plays with the Harlem Globetrotters against George Mikan, and they win the basketball championship. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy was something else.
okay.
Well, he was. He was the first of 14 children to be born to Mr. Strong and his first wife. And he was born January 2nd, 1917 in South Bend, Indiana. And then when I learned of Mr. Strong, he was married to his second wife, and I grew up with his 10 children from his second marriage in the South Side of Chicago. And so I began to, as I looked at all of this, I just continued to do the research, and then I joined a organization, the Society of American Baseball Research Negro Leagues Committee. And a gentleman by the name of Larry Lester, one of the greatest, best researchers of the Negro Leagues, as well as among others, really enlightened me and helped me and guided me in terms of some of the research and things to do. So I wrote the book, but the interesting thing was to find a publisher. Well, fate had it where I went to a conference, and I met this lady with Roman and Littlefield, book publishers. And we were talking, and she says, "Oh, you writing a book?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, we're looking to get into the Negro Leagues genre, and so send us a proposal, and let's see. We'll consider it." So I put together the proposal, sent it. She looked at it. She went to committee. She emailed me back about 2 weeks later and says, the committee likes it. I'll send you a contract. And so sent me a contract. We negotiated back and forth. And the rest, as they say, is history. And the book was published in 2016. And so it has been for me, a whirlwind in terms of prior to COVID. I went to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri, gave a launch presentation there, as well as the bookstore in Naperville. Why am I drawing a blank on that bookstore? In Naperville, I did a major book launch, Anderson Books in Naperville. I did a big book launch and had Ted Strong Jr.'s younger brother Jasper Strong there with his wife. And so we've been out there telling the story, going to news libraries and so forth. And then COVID hit, but we'll be getting back on that track later this year and next year. So that was the reason the journey in writing the story was that Mr. Strong inspired me. I told him that I said, I need to do a book on you guys. And so the book is about, yes, Ted Strong Jr., but it starts off talking about the father who played with Rube Foster, the founder of Negro League Baseball. And so Mr. Strong, and then there was another son, and that was well, I talked about Jasper, but I also had a situation where we really, as we dug into it, we began to see that this family was a very big sports family, and the family really learned a lot with regards to the father, because Mr. Strong, had been someone who played in the game, and he really taught his children a lot with regard, his boys, in terms of sports and so forth. And all of his children, none of them were in gangs. They never did drugs. Very, very upstanding people in the community. The other person was his younger brother was Othello. When Othello was an outstanding pitcher, and Othello made a great name for himself up in the old Mandate leagues in Canada. So when the Negro Leagues began to fade out after Jackie Robinson was brought into the white leagues, then you had Othello and those guys went north, and Ted Strong Jr. followed them, and they all played up in Canada for quite a number of years and made a great name for themselves up in Canada. So that, in a long-about way, is how this book came about, how this learned of this family, and this story that, and the reason why it's an untold story, because it was never told. Like I said, I didn't know anything about Ted Jr. until his father said, you need to meet Ted. Exactly. And then when I started doing the research, I mean, Ted Jr. played in 7 East-West All-Star games. Now, that was the big event every summer on Southside Chicago at Comiskey Park. And Ted had played his first East-West All-Star game at the age of 23 in 1937. And so he played 7 times. And in 1939, he received 508,000 votes, the most in all of Black baseball history, more than Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell. He got and how they got the votes was through the Black newspapers like the Defender and others all across the country. And people would write in their ballots and send it in, and they 508,000 votes for Ted in the 1939 All-Star game. So looking at what he did, now that they are all considered major leaguers, since Major League Baseball has decided to allow all of them to be known as major leaguers, the next thing now is to work to see if we can get him in the Hall of Fame. Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, baseball and basketball, because he played both sports and he was great at both. 2-sport athlete, that's right.
Okay.
So that's what inspired me.
Okay, now, Mr. Jenkins, knowing that you are a member of the Chamber of Commerce, the head director, what are some key reasons to join?
Well, number one is that, oftentimes it's a way of being able to you need to network. You need, yes, you're out there, you're nose to the grindstone, you're running your business, but you need to be able to look around and get out and meet and know other people. So the chamber can help you in terms of through networking events that we put on, in addition to giving you the opportunity to get more exposure for your business. Because what we do with our social media platforms is that we take information that is provided by the company and use it and put it on our social media sites. Because there are always people out there looking for a plumber, or they're looking for someone in insurance, or they're looking for someone to do media work for them. And you always got to find ways to continue to market and promote your business. And the chamber is one of the great ways. Also, to work with people to go into other counties. Sometimes people stay in one area and, and say, wow, you have to expand. And there's so many great opportunities, whether you're down in Will County or Kendall County or Kane County or DuPage County. And so the chamber has that network that allows you to be able to expand and grow your business, and also give you an opportunity to meet others. You go to an event, you meet someone that you end up doing business with them. And if you don't go there, you don't meet them. And so you don't get that opportunity to expand and grow your business. So that's why the chamber is such an important aspect. And then also to it, we, through the membership and the sponsorships we get from various corporations, allows us to give scholarships to African-American college students, as well as to produce a program where we can assist financially African-American owned businesses to grow and develop their businesses.
And we didn't even mention, but you went to Quad, which is
Quad County African-American Chamber of Commerce, covering the counties of Kane, Kendall, DuPage, and Will. Our website is www.quadcountyAAchamber.org. Again, www.quadcountyAAchamber.org. And you can go there, you can sign up, you can learn of different things that are going on. I mean, your company, Brookshire, has become a member and has done really, you came to one of your first business networking after hours, and you made great contacts. And so, again, it's people learning, knowing, and expanding your horizons in order to grow your business. So, for us, and then also we put on seminars and whatnot to really give people an opportunity to learn, to expand their knowledge with regards to how can I do better social media. We're going to be putting on one with regards to succession plans for small businesses. A lot of people need to know what should you be doing, what should be have set up. We're going to have on May 4th a business after hours with Miss Jana Candies. She just opened her location there on Montgomery Road in Aurora. And if you love candy and you love caramel, this lady has the best candy. It's so good. Working together as a chamber gives us opportunities to help others.
Now, you guys, you hear from the head director of the chambers, and you see it is a good start. Like I said, I started my entrepreneurship about almost 2 years now, and getting in the chambers is good. And yes, I'm gonna have to get on Mr. Jenkins' wing so I can learn a little bit more. But it is a great start starting in the chamber. So he explained his stuff. You heard it from the head director. So you don't just have to hear it from me. You guys can see that for yourself.
And one thing I want to also add real quick is that in addition to our chamber, there are two other chambers in the Aurora area. There's the Aurora Regional Chamber and the Aurora Regional Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. 3 chambers that covers all of different genres and diversity we have in our city, and we all work together to help make sure that business development and growth occurs in the Quad counties. So I just wanted to make that addition.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Now, Mr. Jenkins, I know there's a new book that is coming. Can you give us the title and what the book is about, or you don't want to blow your exposure right now?
Oh no, no, I want the people to know because I'm needing some help while I'm doing the research for this book. It is there's a book, and I'm going to show you the cover of this book. It's called From Slavery to Glory. And that
Pull it
is
up a little bit. Let me see that. I like that. Let me see. From slavery to glory. Okay,
African Americans
I'll check
in
that out.
Aurora. And this was written by an author by the name of Dennis Buck, and it covers African Americans come to Aurora, Illinois, 1850 to 1920. Now, this book, and I got to know the author as I was writing my book, and I said to him, I said, "Well, when are you going to do the second chapter? You got to go from 1920 on up." And he said, "Nah, I just did that for my dissertation and doctorates, and I got it. I'm done." But he said, I know somebody who could do it. And I said, "Who?" And he said, "You." And so
Divine connection.
I, have begun the research. And what I'm doing is it's African Americans in Aurora from 1921 to 2017. 2017 was the year that Mayor Richard Irving, the first African American mayor in Aurora, was elected. And so I have been doing research and doing interviews of African Americans who lived in Aurora. And right now we're trying to identify individuals who had parents who was here in 1921 on up to like 1949. And so I've been doing interviews I interviewed a woman yesterday, Miss Marlene Mays Hayden, or Marlene Hayden Mays. Her maiden name is Hayden. And she's 84 years old. And she grew up and was born in Aurora in 1937. And she talked about growing up and her parents and how her parents had come to Aurora, and she had grandparents who were in Aurora, and talking about what they experienced. And so we're taking it and looking at how did African Americans live? What did they experience? Like, in the 20s, you had prohibition. How did that affect them? You go to the 30s, you have the Depression. How did they live through that? You go into the 40s, you got World War II. She talked about how they used to have these blackout because in the 40s, when they had World War II, the United States had these different, you had to ration food and gas, and they also had blackouts where the siren would go off and people had to turn off all the lights in their homes and on their properties because of the fear of an attack. So they were preparing. So if America was ever attacked, they knew what to do. She talked about, hey, I was a young kid and we had to be quiet and the lights go off. Then you get into the 50s and the things that happened in the 50s, like Emmett Till and the murder of Emmett Till. And I talked to one lady who talked about how she was in the South and she came up north and she had to go up north, she said, because of Emmett Till. And she was a young lady who kind of would speak her mind at 15 years of age, and her mother didn't want anything to happen to her like what happened to Emmett Till. So that's the 50s, and then the 60s of the civil rights movement and so forth. So again, talking about African Americans, and we're going to take census information. I was talking to Ms. Mays last night, and she said, "Oh yeah, in that book," she said, "you go to the census area in the back, and there's my parents." and there's my brother, and we were the Smiths, and there it is. And so again, to show what African Americans, how they live, what they did, being entrepreneurial, being activists, the churches, I'm learning through this whole process and this research that there was a whole uh, mechanism they had when they were coming up from the South, and they would come to a farm in Plainfield, Illinois, that was owned by this white gentleman. And they would come there and he would let them stay until they got themselves acclimated to the area. And then they would go to Aurora to live. And then when they got to Aurora, a lot of people allowed people to live in their homes. And so they had people who were living in others' homes. And then when they got jobs, people would tell them at the churches, oh, there's a job at so-and-so. Oh, there's a job at so-and-so. One gentleman said, hey, that's how I got jobs. I got the jobs, and then they got married, and then they wanted a home. They went to a number of African Americans who built their homes. And so they knew of and they can all tell you, oh yeah, it's the Mr. Bill Burrell and Mr. Harold this and this guy and that guy. These are the guys that did this. They built certain areas. So the book, it's going to take about a year. I'm pushing for a year and a half to get it done. But if there's any of you who are listening to this who have relatives who grew up in Aurora, who may have relatives who had know or remember their grandparents and great-great-grandparents, please, give me a call. You can reach me at area code 630-450-3391. Or shoot me an email at sjenkins105@me.com. And in that way, I do videotape them and we record it because we want to be able to allow future generations to hear what African Americans experienced during these times that we had lived in up to 2017. I mean, 2017 when Mayor Urban was elected mayor. So that's the book. And we really don't have a full title yet, but it's going to continue on to where From Slavery to Glory left off.
There you go, you guys. You hear it for yourself. If you want to get in on that, please give Mr. Sherman, either shoot him an email, or either give him a call. I will have the information down low. I will want you to click subscribe and like. Also, as well, Mr. Sherman, we really do thank you for your time, your knowledge and wisdom. Say anything else you want to say before I close out?
Well, is that, again, like you said, like and subscribe the channels that Brookshire has. I mean, she is doing a fantastic job getting out there, making things happen. And really, in order to grow and to know and enhance your knowledge, you have to be able to like and tell others about what you hear. And don't be afraid to get out there. And, if you have a desire for a business, do it. Call the chamber. We can help you to grow, and talk to others in order to make sure things can work for you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. We really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. You have a great day, and
All righty.
really appreciate it. Hey, do you want to show them your book one more time?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You read
So
my
you know where
mind.
to subscribe. There you go, you guys. You know where to get it from. He said Amazon.
Right,
Barnes and
Amazon. If you like it, please write a review. You'll see all the reviews that are there, but you can never get enough reviews.
You right.